What's up? Nowstalgia pod coming at you. Gonna give you your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. I am Pat Sheehan, Dave Martinson. Dave, let's just jump right into it. You had a busy weekend. I saw an Instagram of you holding a gun.
Yep.
So do you want to explain this?
In the Commonwealth, state of Massachusetts.
Great Commonwealth. Greatest Commonwealth in the nation, I'd say.
City mediocre at best.
Boston's the best city in the world. In America.
Traffic. It's a maze. Hard to get around there.
Yeah.
Roads don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like a kindergartner had a crayon and he's like, here, let's draw some roads.
Or it was just developed by 18th century Englishmen, maybe.
Even earlier than that.
Yeah, 17th century?
Yeah. Jamestown was 16, 10. Yeah, that's Virginia. So pretty soon after that, right?
Yeah, probably 60s. Anyways, not a history podcast. But, you were at PAX East. Tell me, what stood out to you there? Did you see any good talks? What did you take away from
So
the weekend?
PAX East Video Game Conference. There's 3 PAXs. PAX South is in Arizona. Yeah, Arizona. PAX West is in Seattle, and PAX East is in Boston. And they're just little video game shows. They're basically the 3 biggest shows in the U.S. that's not E3, which is every June. That's where all the big news comes every year from all the major players. Mm-hmm. But yeah, PAX East is kind of a more community-based thing. And I was only there one day. I was only there Saturday. But it was cool. I played some games, did some cool VR things, saw some people I knew. Shout out Alex O'Neill. It was fun. PAX is it's not as big as it used to be because PAX West kind of did a little reorganizing. So it's not as many exhibitors were there, big time ones. So there wasn't any huge Hammer games this year. But it was a good time. It was fun. I was going, meeting people.
Yeah. Stuff. I saw you with the VR goggles on with the gun. Mm-hmm. I saw some of your Snapchats of different types of games. What's your sense? Is gaming really going in the VR direction? I can't imagine that.
Oh yeah, no. So VR is still in its consumer infancy right now because there's 3 main products: PlayStation VR, which is $400, Oculus Rift, which is $600, and HTC Vive, which is what I was using, which is $800. PSVR, all you need is PS4. The other 2, you need a high-end gaming PC, so it's $1,000.
Right.
So it's a very expensive medium to get into, but it's also very new. So the people that make VR games, they're making their first game. So everyone's learning together, the developers included. But it'll never take over as the only way people play games.
Sure.
But as it is an immersive experience, there's a lot of really cool things they already do with VR now. So I think it'll definitely last a lot longer than the motion controlled stuff from Kinect and Wii and PlayStation Move.
Yeah, I just can't imagine seeing kids with goggles on running around their living room.
Right. Well, let's think about the Vive. The HTC Vive needs a room this big of free space. That's just how the thing works because there's sensor cameras. Mm-hmm. PSVR and Oculus, you can have a little smaller room, but there's also the real life application, real world applications outside of gaming that VR presents. You can virtual tourism. You could sit courtside at a basketball game. Mm-hmm. Google Earth things already out there.
True.
So there's a lot of other VR is not going to go away anytime soon. It's just going on, but it's definitely going to be a slow burn, especially in gaming.
Interesting.
But it's definitely a cool thing to try out. If you ever see a Microsoft store, not as common as Apple stores, but you can try a Vive there.
Oh, okay.
Actually, they have Oculuses in Best Buys. I don't know if you can try them. But definitely try it. VR is a thing where you really just got to try it and just kind of experience even one of the basic experiences, not even really full games, just kind of having you understand what VR is like to use. You just kind of got to do it for yourself to understand. But it's a lot of fun.
Well, definitely something that I'm sure, like you said, it will be making its way into the space. We'll probably be talking about it more and more. Why don't we talk about some things that are established? Frank Ocean and Lorde. Established young musicians. So
Frank's not that young.
Was he 30?
I think he's he's late 20s, right?
Yeah, something around there.
He's a little older than Tyler, right? Is he? I don't know.
Probably around there. I can look it up real quick.
But yeah, Lorde dropped her second single, Liability, right?
Liability. She's a liability.
And very impressive because this is a fucking piano ballad, man.
Yeah.
This isn't no pop radio song like Greenlight.
So it's interesting. She performed on SNL this
Yeah,
weekend.
both songs.
Yeah, and Greenlight, she was just up there doing her usual Lorde crazy dancing bit, but during Liability, she had Jack Antonoff with her, lead singer of Bleachers, and also co-lead guitarist for the band Fun. Frank Ocean, by the way, is 29 years old, so good call on that. And it's interesting because I didn't know Jack Antonoff is producing this with her, but it makes a lot more sense why that pop vibe comes in. And he even actually was tweeting about this the other day, how they, like, the first time they met, they talked about how you can work in different sounds like that, and then her first single really incorporates, like, the way you can get away with a crazy tone shift, the way that song goes. But yeah, this one sounds a lot, Liability sounds a lot more Lorde-ish.
Yeah, like Pure Heroine, her first album.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like my cup of tea as a song itself, but yeah, my takeaway is just that she's not, like, totally selling out like everyone was afraid of. She's not Taylor Swifting her second album because she's friends with Taylor Swift, you know? So it's good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know.
I'm intrigued for the album.
Oh, I'm definitely intrigued.
I think we got a date for I think it's in June. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So she'll be dropping it right before the major festivals, other than Coachella, obviously, but that'll be Firefly, Bonnaroo, maybe Governor's Ball. She drops it really early, or it will be right after Governor's Ball.
Yeah, June 16th.
June 16th, so it'll be right after Governor's Ball and right before Bonnaroo,
right?
Which I think she's performing Bonnaroo as well.
Yeah, so she'll be performing the songs everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it's not all out.
I mean, I wasn't so surprised by Lorde Liability. We were expecting to see some singles dropping.
The album rollout.
Yeah,
it's
Frank Ocean though. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I think it's Blonde Lucy.
Okay,
it sounds kind of similar, to be honest. I could definitely see it on the album. I don't think it's better than any of those songs. That's probably why it was cut, but I still think it's a cool track. Frank, even, you know, there's not a whole lot of Frank music out there, but even, you know, By the Book or Middle of the Road, Frank is still intriguing music. You know?
No, absolutely. I didn't think this song jumped out to me as a special Frank song, like you said, but it definitely had some weird parts to it that I think kind of make Frank Ocean Frank Ocean.
Yeah, he's playing with the mixing and stuff. That's kind of his trademark, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked you before we started recording, and you seem to think that this is a Lucy. When do you think Frank's going to be, like, dropping more projects?
Oh, no time soon.
I don't know, though.
I don't think so. Unless he does, like, an Untitled Unmastered, like Kendrick, which is a collection of B-sides and demos.
See, the thing is,
which fits my Lucy theory, you know?
I could see him doing something like that, like dropping another album at the end of this year. Because he went so long the last time. He has tons of songs. It's not like he wasn't writing and
of course,
making music.
Yeah, I think it's one or the other, probably, though.
And I think it'd also be interesting.
4 years or, 2 years, 1 year, you know?
I don't know, because I also think Kanye is probably working in some kind of sense. I mean, he's always working.
Right.
I'm sure Frank is somehow involved in some of that. Chance is probably doing something. I don't know if him and Chance...
Oh, yeah, Chance's debut album hasn't come out yet. Let's not forget. It's coming.
So maybe Frank will be on the debut album. But there's people who I know are probably trying to collab with him. They're trying to push him. I mean, I'm sure Tyler...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much they actually collab on anything anymore, but there's
good
got to be
friends.
people that are pushing him to do it. I don't think it'll be as long till we see another project from him.
Let's hope.
I mean, it'd be nice. Yeah. A band that took a long time to get their most recent album, The Shins. Been 5 years since they dropped.
That's a long chunk of time.
Heartworm, yeah. And this album, very Shinsy. I mean, that's kind of the way I can put it. It's got a very popish vibe to it, but they're indie and they're very progressive as well. So it really pulls from a lot of different things. They have a piano ballad, or maybe not piano ballad, but they have a piano-driven song. They have a lot of different kind of sounds that they're experimenting with. The Shins are basically just James Mercer now. So he's also a member of
like Passion Pit. It's really just one guy these days.
Basically, Broken Bells is James Mercer and Danger Mouse. And James Mercer, I think he wanted to come back to this because the Shins are a really important band, and he came up with the Shins, and he really talks a lot about how things have changed now for him in this album. But he talks about his life. He talks about being a father. I mean, the topics are kind of sprawling, and it's a really interesting album. It's an easy listen. You can just throw it on, and I think it's like 40 minutes long. You can.
Is the Shins saving rock?
No,
like the Japan droids.
The Japan droids might save rock. The Shins are not. They're indie, if anything. I mean, you first heard them in Garden State, right?
Yeah.
So, did you ever see Garden State?
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Natalie Portman, very young Natalie.
Shout out Natalie.
Also, shout out Zach Braff. I feel like he doesn't do anything anymore. I'd like to see him do a project.
Yeah.
I like him. Yeah, check out the Shins, Heartworm. I'll probably tweet about it a little bit as I listen to it.
At Nowstalgia Pod.
Nowstalgia Pod. Also, follow us on YouTube. And share our YouTube page because we're trying to become internet famous.
Yeah, help us out. That subscriber on YouTube. You can find the direct link to our YouTube channel at soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. That's also where you can find our iTunes. So throw us a review on there if you like what you're hearing. But
so Dave, Samurai Jack.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, what?
First of all, I had no idea Samurai Jack had as many episodes as it did. 52 episodes from 2001 to 2004.
I was gonna say, I when you texted me about this, I was like, that was a show when I was a kid. I thought.
Yeah, on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, and then I was like, maybe it's something I don't even know what Dave's talking about.
And now it's back. Came back on the 11th, final season on Adult Swim. So it's got up rating a little bit.
Final season. 12 years later.
13 years
13
later.
13 years later. Oh, yeah.
And in 2004. From Gendy Tartakovsky, the famous animator. He also did Dexter's Laboratory first before he did Jack. And then he did Star Wars Clone Wars, that micro series that came out in between episodes 2 and 3. It was like those 2 to 3 minute episodes of the Clone Wars, you know, before the last prequel had come out. And those were fantastic. But yeah, Samurai Jack is back. I actually didn't realize this. Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller-Seitz in their book TV about the 100 greatest shows, Jack has an honorable mention.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Because it has the really unique visual style.
Yeah.
As a show, and it really does hold up. So I didn't watch a lot of it. I kind of watch it here and there. But yeah, I actually was checking. It won 4 Emmys in the animation categories.
I had no idea it was that lauded.
Yeah, I always knew that a cult following, you know, like an Invader Zim kind of thing, where people are cancel too soon, let's get it back. But I actually didn't really think this was on the table yet. But here it is. It's gonna be on Adult Swim the next, I think, 10 weeks or so.
Adult Swim secretly has a lot of really good cartoons on it.
Yeah.
Isn't Rick and Morty on that as well?
Mm-hmm.
And people ride for that show.
Well, because now the Toonami block is back on Adult Swim, and I mean, they had Lawyer Squad from Odd Future back in the day. They actually do a lot of music stuff now. Very interesting little network. What was it? Network thing they got going on there.
Was it Diplo that made a cartoon on there?
Maybe.
Some DJ.
And Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, a lot of stuff on that.
Yeah, it's strange, but I mean, cool. I mean, the more good television, the better. I mean, peak TV, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, speaking of peak TV, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Got some news.
Most peak.
I mean, it's going to be coming back, July?
Correct. So it's not eligible for the next Emmys. It will not be there at all. So nice little opening for other shows we like.
What would you want to see win instead of Game of Thrones?
Robot. Mr. Robot.
I think Robot will
for outstanding drama.
Because
Americans ain't winning. So
also getting Carnivale. I mean,
Bobby Cannavale.
Cannavale.
Joining Robot as a series regular, and B.D. Wong was up to a series regular, meaning you get more White Rose.
White Rose,
which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, B.D. Wong's been quietly probably the best part about that show outside of...
And that's not coming back till October. Not in summer.
Wow, so a lot of good TV taking time off. But that's probably good.
But Fargo's back earlier than we thought. That's coming back next month.
Right?
Yeah.
Man.
Not a fall show.
And there's a lot
April's insane.
And Saul is also coming back.
Saul, a ton of stuff, yeah.
And everybody's saying this season of Saul, everybody that's seen screeners has said that the first 4 episodes are incredible.
Well, Gus Fring is going to make his appearance from Breaking Bad.
Can't wait. It's pretty exciting. I gotta catch up on Saul. I didn't watch the second season yet. Waiting for that to come out on Netflix. I'll just binge it.
Are you sure it's not out already?
I haven't checked. Actually.
Or maybe I saw it on a list of it's coming soon.
I mean, they usually try to release a couple weeks before the new season premieres. But Game of Thrones also confirmed that there's only 13 more episodes. Mm-hmm. There's 8 this season and 5 the following, or is it
7 and 6?
7 and 6. That's what it is.
Well, Benioff and Weiss had remarked that they were gonna have shorter seasons before. Right after the last season ended, so we kind of knew that was coming. But it's official now.
And they also said Ed Sheeran, a favorite of Maisie Williams.
Yeah, Arya.
Apparently, he's going to be on the show.
Okay, where? I mean, he red hair. He could be anywhere, I guess.
I mean, good for Ed Sheeran, right? I mean, like, you get that acting credit.
I mean,
one of the best shows ever.
Conor McGregor, there was like conflicting reports of if he was going to be a wildling or a ironborn guy on a ship. And then some people are like, oh, he'll have a speaking role. There's no way he has a speaking role. That's stupid. And neither will Ed Sheeran. But they'll be there. Like, The Walking Dead actually kind of did this with famous people.
Yeah. So, or like Star Wars putting James Bond.
Daniel Craig, he was the stormtrooper.
Just like little things like that. It's just distracting more than anything. I don't want to see Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones.
Right.
I don't even want to listen to his album most of the time.
No.
So
we can.
If you want to,
I'm not a fan of Long Division.
SoundCloud.com/Nowstalgiapod.
Yeah.
And give us a rating and review on iTunes, please. But to jump into something a little bit more serious, Bachelor.
Oh yeah, the most serious.
We've
Finding love, man.
We've neglected The Bachelor this season pretty much. I think we checked in maybe one time.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It's been a pretty terrible season.
So you're a Batch veteran.
Yeah, I would say that.
A long-standing member of Bachelor Nation, card-carrying member.
Probably about like 3 or 4 years now.
Right. So you know how this goes. You've been around, and you've also been around for all of Nick's long journey that they will never let us forget about. So, how do you evaluate Nick Viall as a Bachelor? Granted, there's special circumstances with him, but being the Bachelor, he's been on TV a lot now. He's actually the Bachelor himself. How do you do?
I think he was probably the worst Bachelor since Juan Pablo. And to know about Juan Pablo, he basically was seen as very crude and just basically an anti-feminist. He doesn't really respect women.
Sounds like Chad.
Yeah, kind of.
From last year.
He was just very unaware, kind of D-bag in a way. And Nick isn't a D-bag. I mean, I think he's just too nice. Yeah, he's just too concerned about his image, I feel like.
Yeah, he's been on TV for so long. It kind of makes sense.
Right.
It's in his nature at this point.
Yeah, and even like with Rachel, so she was sent home last week.
Right.
We're recording this before the finale,
which we knew was coming.
Yeah, I mean she's already announced the Bachelorette, so I mean
they wouldn't spoil the finale if she had advanced to the final two. There's no way. So made sense.
But the thing is, like their like goodbye didn't even really seem that meaningful. I mean, this is one of the 3 people that you've spent the most time with.
Well, I have another question. How many of these last handful of girls, even around the final 4, how many of them really think like Nick? Or they liked him, but they really love him, or we're gonna love him? You know what I'm saying?
So this is a really interesting part about this, and
Corinne actually was giving off the persona that she was really into Nick. I don't know how much I bought that. She might be more believable than the other ones, though.
I think it's the kind of thing where when you're wrapped up in this world for as long as these girls are, and it's all you think about,
of course,
you start to think like, oh, I really do have such strong feelings for this person. I mean, they're jacked up by their handlers every day about it. So I think they think that they do. I don't know if they actually feel as strongly as they do. Which is why I think a lot of times like when they get engaged, and then when you actually go live real life, it's like, oh,
none of them last.
Yeah.
How many Bachelor couples lasted? 2?
I think there's been maybe like 3 or 4.
And one of them's Ben, which is still very new.
Yeah, Ben and Lauren, Caitlin and Sean are still together. And I think there's 2 from before I was watching that are still like involved. I mean, there's some from Bachelor in Paradise, like Jade and Tanner. They're expecting a child.
I heard about that wedding.
Yeah,
a lot.
They mention it all the time.
Evan and Carly, another one.
So we're gonna watch the finale right after we're done recording. What's your prediction? Who wins?
It's 150% Vanessa Grimaldi.
Is that really her last name?
Yeah.
I did not
Italian
know that.
as fuck, dude.
I mean, she looks Italian as fuck.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna win in the fantasy game because I'm so far behind and probably can't win at this point. I just threw Hail Mary, said he doesn't pick anybody, which I could actually see.
That was a smart call.
I mean, I could see him actually doing that. Only because him and Vanessa at this point, he's not gonna pick Raven. That's not even an option.
No,
but
it's obvious. It's Vanessa. So how do you feel about Nick picking Vanessa? We're just gonna shoot our shot here.
I really think he might say no. Like either like give her the final rose and not propose, because I think he doesn't want to go to Canada. And she's pretty set that she's not coming to America.
See, I think they do he does the proposal, Neil Lane ring, does the normal thing, right? And soon after this, now that they can publicize their relationship, pretty soon, Nick's going to do Dancing with the Stars, and then Vanessa will be like, yo, I'm not moving to LA after all. I'll stay in
I guess he's
Montreal.
Like that. It's also doesn't.
She also kind of wanted to move to LA if we checked her IMDb history,
right.
Aspiring actress and whatnot.
She was already in a show.
Blue Mountain State.
Yeah, that's what it was. Blue Mountain
people
State.
know.
That's awesome. I mean, this is the second time, or maybe the third time. You can pretty much tell the winner pretty much at the beginning.
Yeah, she was the Jordan Rodgers of this season.
Yeah, and before that, Caitlyn and Sean, you pretty much knew right away Caitlyn was going to pick Sean. This show really needs to switch it up, and I think Rachel will be a really good bachelorette for that.
Sure.
Because she seems to be very, like, she wants to take things slow, but she's also, like, very demanding of a partner. Like, she seems like she wants a lot out of them.
She had the best conversations out of any of the girls with Nick. Absolutely. She got a lot out of Nick. So,
and I think that makes me excited more than anything. Is one, I think they found some really good people to go on Bachelor in Paradise. Corinne, Alexis, even Liz. I think will be fun to have.
Your
there.
girl Sarah, think she'll come back? Sarah's got a lot of Instagram followers, man. I think she's campaigning.
She's so adorable. I think she will. Also, Chris Soule's reportedly going on Bachelor in Paradise. Would be the first former Bachelor to be on it. So that'll be interesting.
Wow.
But they also found a really great Bachelorette. So even though this season's been really boring and they couldn't even get 2 hours out of the round of 4 and 3, it's good for the show overall.
Honestly, the season needed Corinne to carry it. I mean, not that it was the best that she dominated screen time, but
she's the first ballot Hall of Famer.
Nick wasn't helping enough.
he's just boring. Like, and his stutter isn't really that endearing. It's just kind of like. Also, his
best conversation lines. Hey, how are you? What's up?
Yeah, if you wanna hear my thoughts on Nick's conversations, actually, New World Peace. I tweet about it almost every single week. So,
right.
I don't know. What did you think of, like, the season overall? Were you as bored as I was with it?
I did get a little disinterested as it was kind of going through the motions, because it was kind of clear that Raven, Rachel, and Vanessa were a top tier in some order. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh, how far will Corinne go? It became the point where, oh, well, Corinne's going to go to the Final Four because no one had a chance to assert themselves. So, Christina, she dropped her hammer too late, didn't matter. So, like, I don't know, just kind of got, like, it was easy to foresee. And then Vanessa, when she wins tonight, which I know she won, I'm just going to say that now, it's kind of the foregone conclusion. I don't know.
Right. It's also this season, like, the moments that kind of make The Bachelor fun, like just those, like, little things that you can point and make fun of and laugh at, all seemed very produced. Like,
sure,
the Alexis with the shark costume, she thought it was a dolphin. Is like they gave her a shark costume and told her it was a dolphin, and
that was also from the first episode.
Right.
We didn't get anything else.
Running into Raven's brother as a cop.
Oh, wow.
That was...
What are the odds?
Right, exactly. Running into Nick's girlfriend when they went to Milwaukee. Like, that he had in high school. Hasn't talked to in a long time. But just standing right outside the window and talking about her. Like, the show needs some fresh...
Backstreet Boys, total flop. No need for them to be on the show.
Although, I don't mind hearing Backstreet Boys anytime. I'll always welcome more.
I do want it that way.
In my life. So I think Rachel will provide a breath of fresh air for the franchise.
Yeah, much needed, obviously.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, Dave, we want to talk more TV, but we want to take a little intermission to ask you. You went to the movies this past weekend.
Yeah.
Who'd you go with, by the way? Did you go with friends or did you just go by yourself?
Oh, no. As soon as I got back from Boston, I just went right to the movie theater.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Scheduling,
And you saw Kong.
Kong Skull Island.
I mean, what did you think?
It's fucking awesome.
Really?
Dude, it was really fun. And it was really funny.
Hiddleston.
Yeah. So we gotta take a step back for a second. So Pat, you haven't seen Godzilla, smash hit from 2014 from Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One, right?
No.
So you haven't seen that. So let's look back. So in 2014, Godzilla has post Kick-Ass, pre Golden Globes, Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of leading the show. You got Bryan Cranston there as his dad. You got Ken Watanabe. You got David Strathairn from the Bourne movies. Good cast. The problem with that Godzilla movie, which I still really liked, was it was very serious, very dark tone, very self-serious. And
It's a monster movie. They're always serious.
right, and of course, yeah, definitely, totally believable monsters. Yeah, obviously take it seriously. But Godzilla didn't show up for a very long time. And when he was around, he was barely in frame. He didn't really have his big moments to the very end, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I still think it's a fun movie. It's a good setup, good origin story for this, monster verse they're creating, and it did really well. 93.2 million opening weekend here in the States, and then 529 globally. So did well, set the bar straight. And obviously, Gareth Edwards got his jump to an even bigger IP with Star Wars. So now we're at Kong Skull Island, and we're kind of like taking a step back with the director because it's directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who has only 2 director credits, one of which is Nick Offerman American Ham, the comedy special, and his debut Kings of Summer, which was a Sundance darling in 2013. So basically, he's a newer up and coming director. But then you have this crazy cast, which you see if you've seen in the trailers: Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly, Samuel L. Jackson. Then we have Tony Kebbell, who I still want him to be in good flicks because he was bad in Fantastic Four, but he's awesome in Black Mirror. He's the guy with the in the very first season with the eye thing.
Okay.
When his wife died or whatever.
Yeah, when you can look back at the memories.
Yes, that one.
And his wife cheated on him.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Then we have Corey Hawkins and Jason Mitchell, aka Dre and Eazy-E from Straight Outta Compton. And we also have Shea Wigham from Boardwalk Empire. We have Thomas Mann, who was the lead guy in Project X.
Just
the nerd kid.
Cast.
Yes, kids everywhere. John Ortiz.
Kids everywhere.
And that's actually my one problem with movies. There's too many characters. Too many characters that just didn't need to be there. Not that they were bad or it's just you can't develop all those characters.
Right.
And they don't really serve any purpose to the plot. But what I did like is that it's fun and the tone was not super serious. There's a nice levity, whether it's the musical cues or John C. Reilly's character, who they find on Skull Island because you see this in the very beginning. It's not a spoiler. He crashed on the island in World War II. He was shot down.
Gotcha.
And he's been there ever since. Kong Skull Island takes place right after the Vietnam War ends.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So he's really funny.
What's the movie really about then? Because
yeah.
If you think about it, when you think about a monster movie, it's kind of about that big reveal. Like,
of course,
there's this impending doom, and then how are we going to stop this huge monster?
Right, and that's what's so good about it is that Kong shows up early. They get to the island within like the first half hour. They get to before the first act's even over, and basically they're going there on the guise of tracking this new uncharted terrain. John Goodman's leading a science department. They get Samuel Jackson and some of the other guys, like they're the military escort. That's basically the backdrop. Not really important, but what is important is that Kong shows up early and he fucks shit up. Effects are great, obviously. It is mocapped. It's also beautiful. It was shot on location in Vietnam.
Oh wow!
So like
awesome.
there's tons of various jungle settings as they get split up and they're going around the island doing cool things, running from all these crazy monsters. But yeah, I think my main takeaway is that it's just fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I think the Kong moments are good.
So what, are they trying to stop Kong? Is that the goal?
Well, no. Most of them didn't know Kong was there. Just John Goodman, as it turns out.
So what, was he trying to stop him, or what was the...
trying to prove that monsters were existing.
Oh, well, I think that actually helps then to the tone of the movie, because if it's about that impending doom and you're going to
it's not just city destruction, because we're on this island.
Exactly. Right. That takes away a lot of the stakes. It gets to kind of be more of like a lighthearted, maybe even a character-driven movie in a way. And everything I've heard around it is that John C. Reilly actually steals the show.
He does. No, the thing about it is there's so many characters, but there's also no clear lead. We have Hiddleston and Brie Larson, who they're together most of the film, but neither one really steps up. Because the way the script goes, Samuel L. Jackson is almost an antagonist in a way.
How fast did he die?
And then none of these guys I mentioned died fast. There's a lot of other characters that die early.
Samuel L. Jackson dies in like every movie, though.
Right. It's usually his thing. But then John C. Reilly, once he shows up, he really commands the screen and kind of... apparently he ad-libbed most of his role, which is great, yeah.
That's one of like the really cool things about getting seasoned actors like that is you can kind of just give them like the premise of a character. Like, it's a crazy World War II guy that's been stuck on this island worshiping a monkey for years, and how would he be? And then John C. Reilly just runs with that.
There's this scene towards the end where Tom Hiddleston has this ridiculous action scene. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just
Badass.
It's badass. You'll either laugh at it or you'll think it was freaking awesome. Either way, it worked for me. Jason Mitchell, who's Eazy-E, he's straight comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Hawkins doesn't have enough lines, in my opinion. Like I said, there's a little too many characters, but there's this one recurring
Joke.
Yeah, bit. It's almost like a cliche at the end, but Tony Kebbell is one of the soldiers, and he's writing a letter to his son, and he keeps going. He has the southern voice like, "Dear Billy," and then writing a letter, and then all the other characters throughout the film, from Act 1 to Act 3, whenever they're like, "Oh shit, we're so fucked," he's like, "Dear Billy, run from giant spiders," like just shit like that. And like, yeah, it's stupid. Like the script isn't amazing, but it works for me. I think it's a fun movie.
That's great, and I think we need more fun movies that aren't as serious, especially when it comes to like monster movies and things like that.
And that's the thing. This monster verse they're creating, we're setting up Godzilla versus Kong in 2020. But before that, we get the sequel to 2014 Godzilla called Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's going to start filming this June, comes out March 2019. Mm-hmm. Lead Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. Fucking 11 is going to be in a Godzilla movie.
Wow.
Alongside Vera Farmiga and Kyle Chandler.
Interesting.
They're going for it,
That's really
dude.
interesting.
They're going for it.
Well, we'll definitely be talking more about that. I think it'd also be interesting, maybe moving forward with like Marvel and DC releasing projects this year and talking about them building the MonsterVerse.
Yeah.
Talking just about the idea of movies always being part of something bigger.
IP.
And just talking about how that affects the way movies and TV are made now. Mm-hmm. And that actually leads kind of into Legion, which we wanted to touch on a bunch of TV that we've neglected based on our Oscars and then music coverage last week.
Right. Check that out if you missed it. SoundCloud.com/NowstalgiaPod.
Stay plugging.
And YouTube.
Yeah, so Legion, I mean, it's been fantastic. Noah Hawley has delivered on this.
He's awesome.
And it's really cool to tune in. So I never saw Twin Peaks, but everybody said it was really it's a psychological thriller.
I'm trying to watch Twin Peaks before the new Twin Peaks comes out.
It comes out this summer, I think, right?
June.
So you got a couple months to catch up on that,
and everything else so much.
From what people talk about, this is probably the closest show to Twin Peaks, just in terms of it's all psychological. Almost all of this is about Legion or
inside his head.
Yeah, it's David Haller and the demons he's fighting and what's actually going on with him. And every episode is like a different style. Mm-hmm. It's kind of incredible. It's almost like watching Breaking Bad, how you could tell like this episode's done by a different director just based on the shots and like the
Thrones kind of does that too.
Yeah, Thrones definitely does that. But I mean, it's almost like every single episode, even though I think they're all shot by Hawley, are different. I mean, I know you're not all the way caught up, but what are your thoughts so far on what stood out to you?
The thing that by far and away stands out to me is that Legion, if you didn't know it had any superhero pretense, wouldn't be a superhero show.
Yeah,
it'd just be a show.
Absolutely, it's almost kind of like Inception in a way.
Yeah,
it really just kind of goes deeper and deeper into like
unreliable narrator.
Yep.
Non-linearity. What's real, what's not. We've seen it before. We've seen it in Memento, we've seen it in Robot, seen it in Fight Club. We'll see it again because when it's done right, it's freaking fantastic. Yeah,
and even thinking about like the scope of the show, I think sometimes we say like things bite off too big. Like the scope of Game of Thrones, just by necessity, is enormous.
Right. That also is a source material. It's not original.
Exactly. But when you think about shows like taking on too much, it's like, okay, so you have to develop this character who you've spent such little time with, and you have to devote all this other time, take it away. You're just talking about too many characters. This keeps it really small. There's basically like 3-4 characters that they're really trying to get into. It seems like it's Sid, it's David, and then a little bit of the Gene Smart's character, Dr. Melanie Bird. Those seem to be like the 3 that they're really going to build around. But also shout out to Bill Irwin, who is like the doctor at the place, and he really takes care of like trying to figure out like the psychological part of David.
Unsuccessfully.
But he has this one scene, and I think it was the 3rd episode where, it was last week. It was the 4th episode where he was fighting, but he has like his power is that he has like a inner girl that can go fight for him inside like David's mind, but he's acting out all the fighting and like taking all the punches on his own, like sweeping the floor.
So
it was an amazing scene. So there's a lot of really, really great things with Legion. Noah Hawley, man, I mean, he's just a master. Like,
absolutely.
It's so
Can't wait
exciting
for Fargo season 3 too.
Absolutely.
I mean, Legion will end, and then Fargo will come out, I think, a week or two after.
That's perfect.
FX on fire.
Just no Holly on TV constantly. Yeah. I don't hate that at all. Tell me about Taboo though, Dave, because it seems like I was out on Taboo pretty early.
Not much to say.
Really?
8 episodes in the book for Taboo. FX did not kill it with this one, unfortunately, just because there wasn't much of a payoff. Just the plot wasn't that great, and it was visually interesting. I thought it looked cool. It brought you back to the 19th century. That was cool, I guess, but it just wasn't interesting. There was a lot of loose angles that they would introduce about Tom Hardy's character, James Delaney, and they would either throw him away after an episode or they wouldn't go anywhere. And then it was supposed to be a miniseries. Now it's not. It's been renewed.
Why would they give it a season?
But here's the thing: episode 8 ends, and it does not feel like there's any finality to it at all. It ends as if a second season was assumed.
Huh.
And I didn't like where it ended. I didn't think it was that great, so I'm not gonna keep watching.
Yeah, I was out pretty early. It just didn't seem to fit for what my interests are in watching TV. But yeah, the second season, it doesn't. I didn't hear a lot of really good things about Taboo at all.
No.
I mean, other than maybe The Watch doing like ridiculous letters from Taboo Island and just highlighting the weirdest parts of the show.
Yeah, like they just like you just have to be in on Taboo. You have to just accept it for what it is, and it's not that it's overly bad. It's just not that interesting or that cool at the end of the day.
Tom Hardy, I said this on past pod, he needs to do something upbeat.
Right.
Like he really needs to go be super charming. Even in the new in Dunkirk coming out, it looks like he's gonna be a fighter pilot, but who also looks muffled, something over his mouth. But then also he's gonna be like probably like super brooding and like fighting all these demons, and it's like, all right, man. Like,
yeah.
I just need you to go.
That's the thing with Taboo, though. The demon angle is not. There's no end to that. Just doesn't make sense how it comes in and goes away. It's
Tom Hardy.
Poor execution. It's a miss for sure.
Go be James Bond, Tom Hardy. Please, just go be James Bond and give me some fun Tom Hardy.
And I miss the same thing with Taboo. Again, it's not terrible. It's just not that interesting.
Something that's maybe not that interesting story-wise, but interesting world-wise is Big Little Lies. So I know that you have
low-key hit on HBO.
Yeah, but that's
also a miniseries.
Yeah, it's also based on some source material. I think it's a book, right?
Yeah, it's a book.
It's been really interesting. I mean, it stars Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Laura Dern,
Shailene Woodley.
Yep.
Skarsgård, Adam Scott,
Zoe Kravitz.
Yep.
It's got a lot of
talent.
A lot of talent in there. The world is just interesting. It's very rich California, basically like Tech Valley
Bad and bougie
type of shit. And the overall arc is there's a murder that they're trying to figure out where it came, what happened. But pretty much it's just about like the relationships between these people and how ridiculous they are. And it's a fun watch. It's also if you're into like houses and like scenic kind of things, it's really beautiful in that sense.
Right, landscapes.
Yeah, like it's kitchen porn or like house porn type of thing. So check that out.
Yeah. Well, that's like the premier HBO Sunday show at the moment. Post Young Pope.
Yeah, post Young Pope, and I don't know if they have anything lined up after this before Game of Thrones.
Well, Thrones is later. I think Silicon Valley and Veep will come back before Thrones.
Yeah, they can hold the title. I mean, HBO's kind of killing it right now. Girls is in its final season.
Yep.
It had Riz Ahmed in the first episode, who, spoiler alert, so skip ahead 10 seconds, gets Lena Dunham pregnant.
Nice.
So I'm hoping he'll be coming back at some point. That'd be great. But it also had Matt Reese from The Americans.
Oh,
in,
really?
An episode.
Interesting.
As a writer that Hannah confronts. But it's really just, it's nice because my biggest problem with Girls was it was really hard to like the characters because they make such ridiculous...
It didn't make sense that they liked each other after all that time?
Yeah, and like they make the most ridiculous childish decisions and then like just somehow stay friends.
And they don't have any other friends?
Right, exactly. But
a few gaps in logic.
Eventually, like somewhere Lena Dunham was like, oh, it's our last season, these people have to mature and start to like find themselves. So it's really nice to like see some actual character development in a way that is like heartwarming. So that's really cool. Crashing is really good. Pete Holmes, I don't find him very funny, but he like hangs out with like T.J. Miller, hangs with Burst in the last one.
Also funny.
And so was Artie Lang in the first one. So there's a lot of really funny people around it, and it kind of puts a lot of shine onto them. So that's really fun comedy on HBO. And then Love came back this Saturday.
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, Judd Apatow show. Paul Russ, Jillian Jacobs.
That's on Netflix, right?
On Netflix. Yeah. I've watched 8 of the 10 episodes. Binged it this weekend with my girlfriend, and it's a lot better than season 1. I didn't like season 1.
Yeah, I remember you didn't. That was one of the first things we talked about at soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod.
Yeah, check out those old ones. See how far we've come, please.
#growth.
Yeah, #gains.
Right.
But what I like more about this season is they're taking the characters on the fringes. So like Jillian Jacobs' roommate. Paul Russ' friend, and they're giving them backstories and letting them develop and looking a little bit deeper at like the characters actually. So it's actually like a pretty nice watch, and I feel like I can empathize with them a little bit more. So definitely worth checking out if you got to the first season. Check out the second season. If not, I don't blame you. First season wasn't great. Anything else that you wanted to touch on TV wise? I mean, I know that you've been busy with other endeavors like video games and whatnot.
Yeah, Marvel's Iron Fist comes out Friday, same day Beauty and the Beast comes out, and Iron Fist is actually getting kind of poor reviews, middling reviews. The first Marvel Netflix season did not be well received. It's being I obviously haven't seen it yet, it's not out. It's being described kind of as a step backwards, whereas each other show kind of pushed things forward. So I'm pretty sure those are advanced reviews, so it's not the whole season.
Right.
And then Finn Jones, the lead, Lors Terrell from Game of Thrones, he did say that if you're a fan of the shows, you will like it. So maybe the first few didn't sit well with critics, but interesting, storyline at this moment.
Definitely. A note I forgot to mention with Legion, and this kind of ties in with Iron Fist. There's another X-Men show coming on FX called Gifted.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be pretty interesting as well. They've gotten some great casting with that. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. Iron Fist will be interesting. I wonder if people are not going to watch it based on the critics' review. I mean, it's one of those things just kind of there.
I think it'll do fine. And it is tying into the Defender show, so it's not like Iron Fist will be going away. Right. We will see him again when they all team up. Netflix
is such a machine, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, basically every time I sign in, it's like a new show that they're putting out. And like the last one had the guy who plays Saul in Better Call Saul.
Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk had a show on there that just like wasn't even known.
Well, that's the thing with Netflix now, as you'll notice, they don't have a lot of rights to as many movies anymore because they invest most of their money in original programming because it's stuff that they 100% own and can control. Right. I guess it makes sense. I mean, there's such a content factory now, and not everything needs to hit. You just need a Making the Murderer once in a while or Stranger Things, and then those shows literally drive millions of subscribers.
Yeah.
So Netflix is fascinating.
It's also
now they're getting Oscars.
Yeah, and hearing you talk about kind of like when the timeline of when things are coming out, like you mentioned, it's basically Saul and Fargo.
Yep.
And then it goes June is I forgot what you said June was, but then it's Game of Thrones, and then
Veep in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, Veep in Silicon Valley. Then it's Thrones, and then it's Stranger Things
and Robot
in the fall. I mean, the year
doesn't stop. Never stops.
Peak TV.
It's impossible to catch up on anything that's not currently on. You just don't have time.
Peak TV is so peak right now. Yeah, and
so
we didn't even mention John Oliver, but he's just amazing every week.
Right.
I mean, I hear Trevor Noah's doing a lot better. I don't really keep up the late night, but John Oliver you need to keep up with. He's hilarious.
I haven't seen it yet, but there's a special out on HBO from Jared Carmichael.
Really?
Yes. Jared Carmichael.
Gerard.
Gerard Carmichael. Gerard Carmichael, has the Carmichael Show, which is similar to a Blackish, where it plays with race as a sitcom in smart, original ways. But you might remember him from Neighbors. He was one of the guys with Efron and Dave Franco.
He was one of the funniest parts.
He was the one who did the what's it called? The
dildo mold.
Yeah, the printing.
3D printing.
3D printing the dildos, but his dick wasn't hard.
Yeah.
And he also hadn't shaved. So he was that guy. He had a few really great little moments.
Well, yeah,
but he's actually a really smart comic.
Yeah, he's a great comic. Also, it just my favorite part of the movie is when Hannibal Buress fucks with him when he's like wicked high outside the party. That's like by far my favorite part. Makes him like
Neighbors is a fantastic comedy.
Neighbors. I think that's gonna age well. It's gonna be like super bad
I think so.
and like Step Brothers stuff like that. Just really ages
like
well.
A movie like that where Efron shines so bright is why I'm excited for Baywatch.
I was just about to say that,
because that's two guys that shine. They just light up the screen.
It's gonna be that's gonna be a great one.
But yeah, Gerard Carmichael, he's a special on HBO. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I also watched a documentary called Eagles of Death Metal. They were the band that was on stage during the Paris attacks.
Oh, right.
And they did a documentary following them. I mean, the cool thing about them, I didn't know this, the drummer of that band is the lead singer of Queens of the Stone Age. And that's how they actually started. Wow. Was he kind of found his friend from high school who wanted to get into music and made him a lead singer. But it's a really moving documentary.
Right.
Definitely worth checking out. Also, all the Batmans are on there, like the ones from like the 80s and 90s.
Oh, right.
And also The Killing Joke is on there. I watched that. Very good.
Oh, that just came out. The animated one?
Yeah. So, a lot of really good stuff on HBO. I mean, they just kill it all the time.
South by Southwest is happening right now. And
true.
Great buzz for The Disaster Artist, a movie from James Franco. We're talking Oscar buzz. It got a standing ovation already.
Is that the one that was shot in Albany?
I'm not sure, actually. Check that. Also, we got The Disaster Artist. We also got a trailer for Baby Driver, the new movie from Edgar Wright, who's an awesome director. That comes out in August. And advance reviews, because they showed it at South by, advance reviews are excellent. This has Kevin Spacey, Ansel Elgort, Jamie Foxx, John Bernthal, John Hamm, a few other people. Looks great, and the reviews say it's great. So I'm excited for that.
I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff coming out. Beauty and the Beast comes out next week. We'll be talking about that.
Absolutely.
Man, I mean...
Content, man.
What a time to be alive, right?
Yeah.
And that Drake album's going to drop anytime.
More life sometime. It's coming. It does exist.
The limit does not exist. Hopefully that does not exist. But anyways, if you want to hear about all these upcoming things, subscribe to our YouTube page. Share it with friends. Follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. I mean, what else am I forgetting?
That's all you need. It's fine. Use what if it's on a pod service that you like, it's on there. But go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod, because that's where you'll find a direct link for iTunes and direct link for YouTube. Help us out with YouTube subscription, please. Big help. All you need is a Gmail account.
Yeah, and tweet at the show at Nowstalgiapod. Let us know what you want us to talk about.
Right.
And
if you like Iron Fist, don't like Iron Fist, let us know what's good with that. Beauty and the Beast. Excited.
Yeah, and follow us for live tweeting most events like The Bachelor, award shows, anything that's really worth watching on TV.
And if we're not tweeting about it, tell us that we should be. Let us know.
Exactly. All right, we'll see you next week.